Hi there guys, in today's video we're going to be looking at our tool preferences part 2. But before that, let's have a quick intro first. So today's video can be found on softwaretraining.co.za. We make short and easy to watch problem solving videos, and we also have daily updates. Now if we head back into the program here, so I'm just going to head to the preferences and then we can carry on with our tools. Previously we looked at some spell checking, cloud, page, FlexiTutorial, meter, paste. Now we're going to be heading to the next. So the first one from our next list here, you can say, is the rip and print. Now there's a few settings under here which we can look at. So the first one is the way it communicates with the production manager. So this is purely for the rip and print and production manager communication. So at the moment it is set to connect the local production manager using TCP/IP. You can just leave that in because this is working with the local, but just keeping in mind some antivirus softwares, they can prevent the communication, so you might have to allow things. Then when it comes to our next setting here, this is when color settings are different. In other words, you have the communication between your rip and print and production manager, and they have individual settings. So by default, the top one selected, which is prompt for which one to use. So if you change something in the production manager, it is going to prompt you to ask which one you want to use, or like vice versa. If you change something in your rip and print, then it will give you a prompt to ask you, which I kind of like because you still have the choice where if you know you only want to use one from one of these two, then you can always select either always keep rip and print settings, or you say always use production manager settings. So this is where you can set the defaults for that, which is handy. And at the bottom here we've got launch 32-bit version of FlexiPRINT, the name, but pretty much what it comes down to is if some older printers, they require a 32-bit version of the production manager to run. So then what you can do is if you click this, then it will run the 32-bit version instead of the 64-bit version. So handy little feature if you're working with a rip and print with a production manager and you want to set up some defaults. Okay, then next up on our list here we've got the select tool. Now we've got two options here. We've got the top one, which is by fully enclosed, and we've got by touching. And this is very handy for your actual like let's say you've got a few shapes here. Then the two options, the one will be if this blue box just touches these shapes, it will be selected. The other one, again, you have to fully enclose it and select it. That one can be a bit tricky because sometimes if it's not properly overlapping, you select and it'll only select this one, not the left one as well, which can be a bit tricky and confusing. So that's one of those places where I like to have it on the default, which is whichever it touches. The other one has its benefits, but for the workflow I'm used to, I prefer it on by touching. Then we've got show fills. What this is going to do is going to show like when you've got your show fills feature enabled, it's going to show you different options. So the one is show layer color. So then instead of the current color your fill is, it's going to show it based off what the layer color is under your design editor and stuff like that. Then we've got the show fill. Well, let me show you guys so you get an idea. So in other words, we've got these ones. I change the color of one. Then under our design editor here, we've got our page color and so forth, which we can choose it that, or we can choose it the actual full colors. That was those two first top options. And then the last one is we can actually see the, let me just find it again, show fills. We can see the path direction. So what this is going to do, it's going to obviously show us once we go into the mode, which I'll show you now where it is. So if we had to go under here to our view, let's fix our zoom there, view, and then we go show fills, the shortcut press Control F. If I go show fills, you can see now it is showing two different colors here on top. So green is one way that it's going to be cutting or printing or whatever you're doing. Try to say printing, and then purple will be in the opposite direction. So that will be your show fills. So I would say by default, just you can always leave it on the actual show fills, the middle setting, which is yeah, the default. You've got show grid. What this will do, I think we've covered in a previous video before, but this is pretty much going to, instead of showing a grid, it's going to show dots. So if the grid is too confusing, you can always set this to dots, which can also be handy. Then we've got the text tool. So this is how your text tool is going to behave to your font size. So whether it's use font height or based on height of. Now we can go into depth of this, but yeah, I would say if you have to, you can play with this, but by default, I like the default setting. This one can be handy though. So we've got your width tracking with spacing. Now you can either do it percentage or by actual size. So if your font has a requirement where it's like, okay, it needs to be this amount of spacing between, then this is a good place to change this. So from percentage to size. And then we also have the option use Chinese language kit if you wanted to enable that. Then the last one here is the zoom. And this will be how your zoom tool reacts after you've clicked once. So in other words, if I had to use the zoom tool, you just put the show fills off. If I had to use the zoom tool and then I click here to zoom to the am.co.za, you'll see now it has switched it back to our selection tool. So it will not keep it on the zoom tool, which in my opinion is a bit of a mixed emotions. I normally like that one off, but most of the times I just use my actual mouse and that to navigate the zooming, which to me is more convenient than having to switch to a tool every time. But yeah, otherwise that is it on the last preferences there from the actual tools tab. Pretty handy if you want to have a nice default and your program reacting the way you want it to. But yeah, in the meanwhile though, if we head here to softwaretraining.co.za, you guys will notice we've got a variety of different softwares we do cover, and you can also isolate your search on the top right. If you do not, however, find the training videos you're looking for, just simply go here, request a training video, fill in the mini form, and then we'll do our best to try and make that for you. But otherwise, thanks guys for watching, and cheers.